welcome to Make Away Life Coaching. My name is Sarah Abbott and I'm the life coach here. Okay, so today we're wrapping up the book series, How We Love, and this is the one book I think you need to read. My therapist, my couples therapist, they all think you need to read this book, so read the book. It's very powerful. We've been going into it pretty deeply, but I assure you, actually, we only kind of skimmed off the top, so there's so much more for you to learn. I would recommend buying a hard copy if you're an eye reader, because you can make notes and you can refer back to it. If you're an ear reader, audiobook person, then I guess just do that and, I don't know, somehow find a way to make notes in a notebook or something. Okay, so here is the takeaway for How We Love. How do you take this information and use it to make your life and your relationships better? Simple. I want to tell you about that. Okay, we're going to start with the vacillator example because I'm a vacillator and it's the easiest for me to understand and talk about. So if you're a vacillator, listen up. Here's how you use the book, you vacillators. If you are feeling angry, really angry, or even just a little bit angry, and you kind of look around. Okay, so really with anger, the righteous use of anger is when someone's violating your boundaries, and the anger is helpful to push them back into their proper place. But if you're just angry at the store, and angry with your spouse, and angry with your kids because they didn't do their chores for the 10,000th time, you can stop and be like, what's really making me angry here? And it's a good time to look back and think, if you're a vacillator, are you experiencing abandonment? So this comes up a lot for me with my spouse. He'll be super busy. This is one example. He'll be super busy working on a project at work, and so he's really busy at work. I don't hear from him. Okay, fine. I know he's busy. So I'm like, Sarah, he's just busy. It's fine. Then he comes home, and I'm like, oh, I'm a vacillator. I'm so happy to see you. Yay. And he's super distant. And I'm like, okay, I know he's busy. I'm going to give him some time. Well, then he goes to soccer practice because he's the coach, and then he comes home, and now it's almost my bedtime because I go to bed at 9. It's crazy. And then I'm laying in bed, and I don't even know I'm angry, actually. But he comes in. He gets home from practice. Thanks for dinner. And I'm like, you're welcome. And I notice my anger flaring up. And he notices it too. That's the thing about the vacillator. Everybody notices. And I'm snapping at him. Ugh. And then I can stop and be like, what do I know from How We Love? Which is that this snappiness and anger is really because I'm feeling abandoned. That is the core work of the vacillator, is the feelings of abandonment, and the anger is just, that's just what it looks like on the outside. So it's my work to stop, check in with myself, and be like, did he really abandon me? These wounds from childhood can trick us into thinking we're feeling abandoned. But really, he went to work, which is a good thing for a husband to do, right? Aren't we all grateful that our husbands go to work and are productive members of society? Okay, he's busy at work. That's a blessing. He's making money, okay? He's in real estate. Thank God he's busy. Then he came home and he was distant. Okay, well, yeah, that's normal. And I know that's his pattern, and that's not intentional. He's not purposefully shutting me out. Then he went to soccer. Okay, well, he loves coaching, and it's benefiting my son and his son, our son. So then he came home, and now he's present and he's trying to connect. And my choice is to push him away with anger. And that's because I'm feeling abandoned, and the anger is kind of ruling me. It's my puppet. The abandonment is pulling my strings, and I am lashing out in anger or criticism or just grumpiness because of these feelings, which means I'm not in control. So now I can use that knowledge to be like, can I make a different choice here? Okay, our feelings are very powerful, and for a vacillator, they're really powerful. But I can stop and be like, I'm sorry I just snapped at you. I've been sitting here feeling lonely all day, waiting to connect with you, and that made me lash out, but I don't like that. Can you come back in? Can we restart? I'm big on asking for restarts. And just, can we start over? And then guess what? Now you just turned your whole night around. You don't have to like lean into the anger, go to bed angry, and have all this weird disconnection that really you started, girlfriend. So anyway, that's an example of how a vacillator can change their life, change their relationship with this book. Okay, next example. Let's go to the avoider. That's my husband. I feel like kind of an avoider expert because I'm married to one. And we've done a lot of couples therapy, so I get to hear his perspective on this stuff a lot. Okay, if you're an avoider, how can you use this amazing book to change your life and change your relationships? Well, I would say the core of the avoider fear is, you grew up in silos, so you're used to being independent, you're used to taking care of your own needs, even though you long for connection. Many times people long for connection. Okay, so let's say you're an avoider and you married a vacillator, because we know those two marry each other a lot, and boy, is that a dynamic pairing. It's just like Nick and I, it can be very powerful, but there's so much potential. There's so many landmines for the vacillator avoider combo. So let's say you're my husband. Hi, Nick. And you're an avoider. And, let's just use the same example. So you're super busy. You have like this big project at work and you're like excited about it, but you're stressed about it. So you know your tendency when you're stressed is to go inward, back into your silo, right? Here's the grain silo. You're like in the silo and nobody can get at you. Well, that's where you need to be. Fine. But just be aware that when you're turning inward, you're not turning towards. Remember what we talked about with the Gottman training? One of the key things to a happy marriage is to turn towards your spouse. Like here they are and you turn toward them. Well, you're not doing that if you're turning inward. So just be aware of that and own it. Okay. And that has consequences, especially if you're married to a vacillator. So you're like working and then you come home and you want to like connect with your spouse, but you just, you're still kind of up here at work. Okay, fine. So you're still turning inwards. Then let's say you coach your son's soccer team. So now you go there and you're starting to feel kind of overwhelmed because you have these commitments at work, and you have these commitments at soccer, and your marriage, and everyone wants something from you. And so you can feel your like stress level rising. And so what do? Your natural tendency is to turn even more inward, and you're kind of shutting down a little bit emotionally to other people. Now you come home and you eat the amazing dinner your wife made. And you notice that she's like in bed ignoring you. And you're like, that's weird. Is she already asleep? No. So you innocently walk into the bedroom and you're like, oh, you're reading in bed. Thanks for dinner. And she's like, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, whatever. Like, I am working so hard and I am coaching. I'm doing all of the things, which is what I think is how you're supposed to be, because I was raised by avoiders are raised where doing is the most important thing, not connecting or blah, blah, blah. So I'm doing all the things, and here she is popping off on me. Okay. If you don't like this dynamic, you can just keep turning inwards and shut down to like, just be like, whatever, I don't care. I'm not dealing with this woman who's lashing out at me. But you can help change your relationship and change your experience with people by stopping and being like, I notice I'm really overwhelmed by my wife's needs right now. And my work needs and everyone's needs are like overwhelming to me. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to check in. And what we know about how we love is that you can become resentful of people's needs because it's like, why can't they take care of themselves like I take care of myself? Well, if you walk that down the line, if you had married someone who took care of their needs just as well as you take care of your needs, you would be in two silos in a marriage. That's not what you wanted, okay? You didn't marry that person, or maybe you did, and you're like, yeah, actually, that is my marriage. Okay, well, that's not the example right now. So our example is you're married to somebody who wants to connect. So you can stop and be like, I have the self-reflection from the book to know that I'm under stress, and so I'm putting myself in that silo, and the way out of this is to come out of this. I'm going to choose to come out of the silo and be present and try to connect. So maybe your vacillator wife did the right thing and tried to make it right. Not always. Maybe not even most of the time. So maybe you can come in and be like, hey, I feel like I've been really distant and I just want to like check in with you. Like, how was your night? Thanks for dinner. You know, I love you. And just see how that goes. Okay. I think that's probably going to go a lot better than just staying in your silo and then wondering in 3 months like why you feel so lonely. Okay, so that's the avoider example. And it's just one of many different ways this whole thing could go. Okay, so let's say you're a pleaser, and this is just one example. I hope it matches you, but it might not. Okay, let's say that you're a pleaser and you're married to, let's say a vacillator, because I don't know, it's just easier for me to talk about vacillators. And as we all know, vacillators have really big moods that fill up the house. So they're like, they can be in such a great mood and everyone's happy, or they can be in like such a crappy mood and everyone feels it, right? It's kind of annoying. I'm sorry. On behalf of all vacillators, I'm sorry. That is the truth though. Okay, so let's just say you're married to a vacillator and you're a pleaser and your husband comes home and he is just so grumpy. And you're like, oh no. All this anxiety is created inside of you, right? This is your pattern from childhood. It's like, we know from this amazing book that you had a parent who was angry or critical or, you know, super anxious, or him or herself. And so your mood is like so dependent on this parent's mood that you'll do anything to put them back in a good mood. Sorry, opposite. You'll do anything to put them back in a good mood, and that becomes your pattern. So now you're an adult and you're married to this person who came home grumpy, and you're like feeling that same unsettledness, like, oh no, he's in a bad mood, I have to make it right. And so you get really busy pleasing. I don't know what that looks like for you, but it might mean making his favorite dinner, or, you know, spending extra time cleaning the house, or I don't even know. So I'm like so not a pleaser. I honestly don't even know what y'all do. I don't even know, but I'm sure you know what you do, which is the most important thing. I can't think of anything. So anyway, blah blah blah. Okay, I know another one. Never mind. Okay, so you're like busy, and it's not working because like the vacillator, like, I don't know, I'm grumpy, like, I don't care, none of this is gonna work. So you're busy, and then you keep working, and then all of a sudden, like, maybe some resentment, and maybe you don't even like that feeling, so you're not acknowledging it. But like deep down, if you stop and you're like, you know what, I'm super anxious, and I get that I have been overboard trying to please this person. And I get that this is my pattern from my childhood, but I also get that this leaves me resentful. Maybe you're already feeling the resentment. Maybe you won't acknowledge it. Maybe you're not there yet, but you can stop and be like, what choice can I make here that will not lead me toward like, super angry resentment? Because he's grumpy. Is he entitled to be grumpy? Maybe, maybe not, but he is. So what is. And so what choice can you make? Well, you have lots of choices, but one choice you can make is to just stop pleasing. As some people like to say, have your own damn day, okay? So this is boundary work. We know pleasers need a lot of people need boundary work. Basically, everyone but avoiders need boundary work, and avoiders might need some work on how not to have such strong boundaries. So everyone needs boundary work. So stop, check in with yourself. Be like, before this person came home, how was I feeling? Oh, I was having a good day. How do I get back to that? Focus on yourself. Make yourself a cup of tea, okay? Go on a walk. Get out. Literally get away from the grumpy energy. And just like, here's something I do. I'm not a pleaser, but when I'm around people, well, one of my sons has just like these big moods, and it's so overwhelming. I literally picture in my mind, I build a brick wall between us. I don't know. Because I struggle with emotional boundaries, and so this helps me. I visualize it going up, and I see this like grumpiness coming at the wall, and it just bounces back at them, and it doesn't get to me. So that's something you could try. But you basically have to find a way to take care of yourself, focus on yourself, bring yourself back to your feelings, try to go back to how you felt before this person's grumpiness made you feel anxious, and then see how that goes. Let the grumpy be grumpy. Let him work it out. And just see, if that moves you at all. Because now you're not controlled by the mood of the person you have no control over. you can try to get back in touch with like letting you have control over your own day. I think that's really powerful. Okay, obviously the book does talk about chaotic controllers and victims. We're not going to get into that here because it's like too complicated to go into, but there's chapters on it and I just cannot recommend it anymore. How We Love also makes a workbook, so if you want to go deeper, which I highly recommend, get the workbook. The sections on what you need to work on as a vacillator, avoider, pleaser, chaotic controller, or victim, they're not that long, and they give you some really concrete things you can do to try to like help be more in control of your behaviors and your choices. And I just want to encourage you. This is powerful. I do not always succeed, okay? That's not the promise here, is that like everything's going to be perfect now. But I'm telling you, there's power. That puppet is losing its power, and it can't pull your strings if you're cutting the strings and you're like, you know what? I'm going to take ownership over my abandonment or my pleasing or my, turning inwards, silo-y thinking, so that I can have the relationship or the life that I want. Because this does not just extend to you don't have to be married, okay? I'm talking, this works with your boss, your mom and dad, your siblings, if you are married, your spouse, if you're dating your partner or boyfriend or girlfriend, your kids, I don't know, maybe even your dogs. Just kidding. Dogs are perfect. We don't have to work on them at all. So there's so much power in this. This is you engaging with everyone. Oh my gosh, even the rude customer service person. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll feel like so much negativity in the world. Oh gosh, right now, please. Politics, everything. So much chaos and anger and resentment everywhere you go. And it's so powerful to cut the strings and check in with yourself and do the things that you've learned to do from How We Love and take ownership over your feelings and your reactions and just see how things start to shift for you. I think you're going to love how much more powerful you are in your own life. Thank you for joining us on this book series. I'm so glad we did it. We started with it on purpose because we are basically everything I ever talk about in life refers back to this book and these love styles. So now it's a resource. You can always go back and listen, although I can't encourage you enough to listen to or read the book. Do the workbook if you really want to get better. Let's be honest. And then come back and join us next week. We're here every Thursday, and next week we're going to start a new series, which is going to focus on some life coaching tools that you can use in your everyday life to kind of help you get further along on the road you want to be on, not the road you don't want to be on. I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.